I have tested out literally every single stain and odor blocking primer out there, and today I'm going to tell you which one is the absolute best. And my journey started out when I was trying to paint some old 70s wood paneling, kind of like what you see behind me. This whole house was filled with it. I'm going to show you the before and after of the wood paneling, and then also show you today what it currently looks like 6 years later. I'm also going to tell you, if I had to do this whole process again, which product I would use. If you are new here, hi, my name is Whitney and I help you DIY a cozy home. So if you like videos like this, please give this one a big thumbs up and consider subscribing. I would love to have you be a part of my little DIY family here on my corner of the internet. And if you do like this video, I will have a playlist of DIY farmhouse renovations down below if you want to keep watching some of my other videos. If you were trying to cover any sort of stained surface, like for instance, a stained wood paneling, or even like water stains, or if you're trying to mask any sort of odors like a cigarette smell, a water-based primer is not going to work. Trust me. When I first started out, I wanted to use a water-based primer because it has low odor, it's really easy to use, it's really easy to clean up, and I was familiar with the process of using water-based and latex-based paints, so I already had all of the materials. The first primer I tried out was the Kills 2 Multi-Surface Sealer and Stain Blocker. Definitely the least effective primer that I'm going to talk about today. I ended up doing 6 coats of this primer on the section of paneling, and the stain from the paneling was still seeping through. So this is when I opted for a better water-based primer. I ended up going with the Zinser Bullseye 123. This is slightly better of a product than the Kills 2, but I ended up doing 4 coats of this primer on top of the 6 coats of the Kills 2, and the stain was still seeping through. So I figured out pretty quickly that the water-based stain was not going to get the job done. So I opted for an oil-based stain, and I ended up going with the Zinser cover stain, and holy cow, what a difference. The wood paneling was sealed within 2 coats of this, and I also did it on a fresh piece of paneling that didn't already have the 10 coats. 2 coats of the cover stain on the stained wood paneling, and it was sealed, it was covered, there was no seepage, there was no bleed through. The pros of working with an oil-based primer is that it really adheres to your surface way better than a water-based primer. It kind of creates a seal and locks all of that in. So whatever you got behind there, if you have water stains, if you have a wood stain, if you have any odors, anything like that, it actually does kind of lock it in place and it doesn't seep through. So the cons with oil-based primers is that it stinks to high heaven, and the stink lingers for at least like 2 weeks until the product is fully cured. There is some planning involved when you're using an oil-based primer because you have to do it in a time of year where you can have all of the windows open for a few days, kind of really air the house out, and you might actually want to not be there while it's curing. You might want to take your kids and your pets away from the space while the primer is curing, so you're not breathing in all of that off-gassing. Also, with oil-based primers, your product is a little bit thicker, so you're going to see brush strokes, you're going to see the texture from the nap in your roller a little bit more than you would with water-based. So if that really bothers you, it's gonna end up causing more work for you in the long run because you're gonna have to sand all of that down before you put your actual paint on. Another con is that the cleanup is a disaster. You have to use mineral spirits to clean your brushes, your rollers, your hands, any sort of spills, and then mineral spirits also smells like diesel fuel. So it's not my favorite thing on the planet, but it does work. So if you do end up going with an oil primer, make sure you wear a mask and you are in a well-ventilated area because this stuff is really, really stinky. There's no bleed through at all. It literally looks like I painted this yesterday and it's been 6 years. So after the wood paneling project was done, my next primer testing project was a rental property of mine that I had tenants in. My tenants smoked inside for 2 years. They were not supposed to, but they did. And the smoke smell was there. So when the tenants moved out, I tried to get the smoke smell out by just cleaning everything. I scrubbed all of the walls, all of the ceilings, all of the door jambs, everything down with hot soapy vinegar water, with baking soda, with Odoban, with everything I could possibly think of, and the smell was not dissipating. I even ran an ozone generator in the space, and that wasn't really helping at all. So I knew I had to reseal all of the sheetrock on the walls and on the ceilings with some sort of an odor blocking primer. The Kills Restoration Primer was recommended to me at the hardware store, and on the front of the can, it says Oil and Shellac Performance in a water base. Those are pretty strong claims, so I thought I would give it a try. Now, the pros about this product, it is really easy to work with because it is a water base. And that's about it. This primer soaks into your drywall like I have never seen before in my life. With a 1 gallon can, I was able to get 2 walls done. 2 walls with 2 coats. was 1 whole gallon. And the Kiehl's Restoration Primer is not cheap. And at this rate, I was gonna need probably 15 gallons of that primer to get the whole project done, all the walls and all of the ceilings. And I didn't really want to invest another $500-600 into just a primer coat, so I decided to change course again. Since I didn't actually do the entire house and see the outcome of what the Kiehl's Restoration Primer can do, I can't really tell you if it's going to block stains and odors. I don't know. I think it might work, but I didn't really want to spend $600 to find out that it didn't work. So this leads me to my holy grail of odor and stain blocking primers. It is the Zinser Bin Shellac Primer. You guys, this stuff is magic. It's magic. Oh, it's so good. This is by far the best primer if you want to hide all sorts of sins. If you want to cover up cigarette smoke smell, if you had fire damage and your drywall smells like smoke, you can cover that up. If you have water damage, if you're doing a restoration and you got problems, use this stuff because it will hide it and it will seal it and it'll lock it into those walls and you will never be able to smell it or see it ever. And it's also great if you're trying to paint over stained wood. Just saying. It creates kind of like a hardened surface, like a hardened seal, and it dries so fast. It dries in like 30 minutes. It dries so fast. Like you paint it on there and it's dry. So much so that if you have too much paint in your paint tray, the primer in the paint tray will start to like form a little skin on top because it's starting to dry. Shellac is very, very liquidy and it stretches really, really far. I only needed 3 gallons to finish the whole house as opposed to the 15 gallons of the Kiehl's Restoration. No. Since the product is so thin and so liquidy, I would highly recommend using a foam roller because if you use a napped roller and you go a little too fast, you're gonna get like back fan spray off of your roller. You know, like when you're washing your roller out and you kind of spin it to dry it and all the water goes flying? The shellac primer will actually do the same thing because it is such a thin formula. So getting a foam roller is going to be your friend. The major con with working with shellac is that it is actually the stinkiest out of all of them. It smells horrendous. You definitely have to wear a mask. I actually wore a ventilator because it is that intense. But the good thing is as soon as the primer dries, the smell goes away. Not like the lingering 2-week oil primer situation. No. You can paint your whole house. You can prime your whole house with this. And then within a few hours, you can't even tell that you painted. It's pretty freaking phenomenal. If you're priming something a little bit more porous, like a stained wood, give it a day, give it 24 hours, and then the smell will be gone. So there's no 2-week waiting around period for an oil primer to cure. It's done, 30 minutes, done, no smell. Now I bet you can guess which product I would use if I had to redo my paneling project all over again. I was thinking about painting the paneling in here, but it's kind of growing on me. But if I did paint this, I would definitely be using the Zinser Bin Shellac Primer. It's by far the best. 2 coats, bada bing, you're done. You can paint with whatever color on top of it. Oh, the Bin Shellac Primer is a little bit off-white. The other primers I used are actually kind of an ultra pure white, but the Shellac Primer has a little bit of a warmth to it, and it's actually a really pretty color. So if you like a little bit more of a creamier off-white color, just use the primer as your paint color. It's really pretty, and it has a little bit, probably like an eggshell sheen to it. I wouldn't say flat, I wouldn't say semi-gloss. Eggshell. Perfect. Quick recap. Water-based primer doesn't really hide stains very well, doesn't really seal in smells very well, easy to work with, easy to clean up, but it's not very effective. Oil-based primers do a really good job of hiding stains and odors, but it's a little bit more difficult to work with, and then there is a lingering stink for about a couple weeks. And shellac-based primers are definitely the best for hiding any sort of stains or odors. The surface is way more durable. The adhesion is way better than the other two. And the smell is bad when you're working with it, but it dissipates extremely quickly. So there you have it. You guys let me know in the comments below what your favorite primer is, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.